since I get to introduce myself, my name is Doug Herndon, and I'm a faculty member here. I've been here, let's see, I came here 11 years ago, so it seems like yesterday. But it's been 11 years, and so have seen a lot of changes, especially in the last year, have taken place with all this construction and such. Let's see, what do I do here? As Lisa mentioned, I am the coordinator of the fitness center, which is right next door to us here on the other side of that wall, which is, we opened, let's see, February 18th last year, or this year actually, last academic year, this year, and that was the day we had the infamous fire. So that very day, 5:30 that evening, the day we opened the new fitness center. So that's one of the things that I do. In addition to that, I am the instructor for 32 sections of Lifetime Fitness, and I see a couple of my students there, and that are in it. And so that gives me about, in that course, about between 450 and 500 students each semester, just in Lifetime Fitness, because of all the sections that are in there. So it's fairly time intensive in terms of getting all those students started at the beginning of the semester, because we go through quite a bit of orientation to the equipment. And this last summer in the fitness center, we added a new circuit that the students in Lifetime Fitness use, and we hooked it up to a system called FitLinks. And FitLinks is a combination hardware software package that monitors everything that the students do and records it electronically, so they no longer have to carry around a clipboard and write it all down. Now it's all stored electronically for them, so they don't have to do that anymore. In the fitness center, we do employ 7 of our former graduates from our sport and fitness management program. They are employed in there, working on a part-time basis, some more part-time than others, but it depends on their schedule. And then in addition to that course, I also teach both exercise physiology 1 and 2 as part of our sport and fitness management program. I'll talk about those a little bit more and just a little bit later. My background, I'll start with my education, I guess, first. I did my undergraduate at what's used to be called Findlay College, now known as the University of Findlay. I think it made that change some 10 to 12 years ago. But when it was a little bit small, it was known as Findlay College, and that's where I did my undergraduate. And my major was health, physical education, and recreation, and with an emphasis in education. And then I went to graduate school at Bowling Green State University. I received a master's degree there in health and physical education with an emphasis in sports medicine and exercise physiology. And then I also went to Kent State University and received a second master's degree there, specifically in exercise physiology. Let's see. Some of my work background. Let's see, work background. Going back quite a ways. I guess I have to start with when I first came to the Cleveland area. I worked with the Cleveland YMCA for a number of years. Worked in a couple of different ones of their branches. And I also actually got my start in the YMCA actually in New England. I worked in Massachusetts for a YMCA in a little further back in my past. But after finishing graduate school at Kent State, I worked at Parma Community General Hospital in their cardiac rehab program for a while. And then I got the opportunity to start a cardiac rehab program at St. John West Shore Hospital, which is not too far away, in Westlake, and started up a cardiac rehab program there. And in cardiac rehab, you're working with patients that have had heart attacks or what we call myocardial infarctions, that have had coronary artery bypass graft surgery, maybe they've had valve replacements, or they have maybe some kind of cardiomyopathy that affects the way their hearts beat, that kind of thing. But cardiac rehabilitation starts when the patient is really first admitted to the hospital, and after they've either had their surgery or they've recovered from their heart attack. You work with that person in the hospital for a given period of time, and then they're discharged, and then you see them regularly as an outpatient for sometimes as much as 3 months or longer. There are different phases of cardiac rehabilitation, with the first phase being in the hospital, second phase being the newly released outpatient, and then there's a maintenance phase to that outpatient. And some people stay in that for years. Others, they kind of fall away. But those, unfortunately, those that fall away, often you get to see them again because they have another cardiac event that brings them back to you. So I did that at Parma. I did that at St. John and West Shore. Then I got an opportunity to work in what was called industrial rehab, and I did that at Metro General Medical Center in Cleveland, where they have a fairly large physical therapy program, and it was really part of their physical therapy program. We developed an industrial rehab program, and we worked with individuals that had been injured on the job. I can remember working with a couple of brothers, young guys. They were working in a building doing some renovation, and the roof collapsed on them. And so they had quite a number of severe injuries as a result of that. And so basically what I did there is I worked with them once they were released from surgery and such to get them back to their optimum strength and ability to return to the job, is what I did with those individuals. After Metro, I was recruited to become the director of cardiac rehab at Mount Sinai Medical Center, which is on the east side of Cleveland, and was there for a number of years running a multi-location cardiac rehab program, not only at the hospital, but they had another satellite office out in Beechwood, Ohio. And we ran cardiac rehab in both of those places and did that for a number of years. When I left there, that's when I came here to LCCC with just a short stint in between working for British Petroleum in their corporate fitness when I got the opportunity to come here. Let's see. Talk a little bit more about some of the courses that I teach. Lifetime Fitness I talked about in the fitness center. It's a circuit training course that utilizes the FitLink system to record everything the students do. It's really designed around the circuit and the circuit training, which essentially utilizes machines, resistance training machines, and stationary bikes. And the students alternate between the machines and the bikes as they move down through the circuit. And they can go through that number of times. We base their grade on the amount of time and attendance they have in the course, plus the average percent improvement that they generate over the semester. From the beginning of the semester, we do a pre-assessment on them, and at the end, we do a post-assessment on them, and we look at the average percent improvement. And then they also must pass a cognitive written test, which they take actually online now, because some of the changes that we've made in that course. The other courses that I teach are the exercise physiology courses, and these involve, our units that we discuss. We talk about muscle physiology, bioenergetics, which is basically the development of energy within the body and the different systems that the body involves. We talk about bone, muscle, and connective tissue adaptation as well. And then in this semester, I happen to be teaching exercise physiology too. And in that, we talk about the neuroendocrine system, cardiovascular system, and the respiratory system. And we do a lot of labs in both those courses. The labs revolve around the units that we're talking about. With regards to energy development, we do some things with blood lactate labs. We do body composition. And I don't know if Lisa ever mentioned this or not, but we just a week ago, this coming Friday, we go tomorrow, we acquired a bod pod here, which we'll use to essentially determine a person's percent body fat through air displacement is the way that works. If you've ever seen a bod pod, it looks kind of like an egg. It opens like a clamshell. You sit in it, close it up, and the computer does most of the rest of the work, but it's quite a unique piece of equipment. Also, in our lab, we'll be doing a lot of cardiovascular labs. where we talk about determining, assessing an individual's cardiovascular performance or capabilities. We do this from submaximal predictions. We also have recently acquired a piece of equipment, also a fairly expensive piece of equipment, which is a metabolic cart, which allows us to actually measure the oxygen and carbon dioxide in a person's expired air directly as they exercise, and can be analyzed breath by breath, in fact, and plotted on a graph to show us what kind of responses that we're getting from this individual. And here we can determine exactly what they're doing and plot that against their heart rate and look at the relationships between heart rate and oxygen consumption. And we also can determine at what point in exercise do they change energy systems from an aerobic energy system to an anaerobic energy system by just looking at the relationship between oxygen and carbon dioxide while those individuals are exercising. So there's a number of different things we can do with that. But in addition to that, we also do, as I said, some submaximal predictions of exercise capacity. We do a lot of blood pressure taking and monitoring of pulse, because that's one of the key things that you're going to use if you get into this fitness field. When you're out in the field working with individuals, you're going to be doing a lot of things where you're just checking their pulse to monitor the intensity of the exercise that they are involved in. It's just monitoring that pulse. It's real simple and easy to do, but it's a skill that you have to learn, like a lot of other skills, to become really good at it, to be able to do it under all circumstances. And along with that, blood pressures as well. Again, a skill that you have to learn. And I happen to mention that because that's what the students in my class are going to be doing this afternoon as part of their first lab. They're going to be doing heart rates this week. Next week, they're going to be doing blood pressures. So, but we also will do some field testing with them, and they'll be exposed to how to assess varying components of an individual's fitness through a variety of field tests that we use. Some of those tests are more aerobic in nature. Some of them are more anaerobic in nature. In other words, involve a lot of power production and that type of thing, so they can learn to look at that. And then we do get into a little bit of mathematics with those courses, because the students will learn how to write exercise prescriptions for clients or individuals they may be working with in the future. And they'll be able to do that mathematically by using a number of equations that we'll go over in detail in practice extensively, so that they have the ability to do that. Let's see.
Talk about your professional affiliation with ACSM.
Oh, okay. Yes, I am a member of the American College of Sports Medicine, known as ACSM, and I am also a certified exercise specialist with the American College of Sports Medicine. I attained that certification so that, essentially I could work in cardiac rehabilitation, which is what kind of the certification they look for from most people. But the ACSM has also developed a new certification known as a clinical exercise physiologist that they have as well. And that's sort of taken the place of the exercise specialist certification for people working in the clinical field. But the exercise specialist is still a recognized certification. So, I mean, does anyone else have any other questions that answer? Yes, go ahead.
You say you're the instructor for exercise physiology?
Yeah.
Is it a prerequisite for that?
Is there a prerequisite for it? Anatomy and Phys. Anatomy and Phys 1 is a prerequisite before you can take exercise Phys 1. You can take exercise or Anatomy and Phys 2 concurrently with that course if you want. Yeah, but good question. Yeah, question.
Why is exercise Phys 1 only offered in spring, or not offered in fall?
It's offered in spring and summer, and 2 is offered in the fall. Because looking at the way our courses pan out, if you were to do our whole curriculum in 2 years, you wouldn't really take exercise Phys 1 until your spring semester, because you'd have to take anatomy and physiology before that. And then you take exercise Phys 2 in the fall of the next year.
Is 2's not offered in summer?
No, it's not. Just one is offered in summer. The Exercise Phys 1 in the summer it's a very intensive course because it's only 8 weeks long instead of 16. So you meet 3 times a week, and you're there for a double period all 3 days. So there's a lot put into those 8 weeks because I have to give the same thing that I give in 16 weeks over that course of time. Other questions? Yes?
What is your job as coordinator of the fitness center involved? What do you do for that?
I get to tell everybody else what to do. No, I'm just kidding. I do the scheduling of all the instructors in there, and basically I make sure the equipment is all working, performing properly. The equipment's all up to speed. I negotiate with. We have a service vendor, and I bring that person in whenever I need things fixed that I can't do myself, which is most of the things, because most of the stuff is all electronics when you get to that point. And then I do work in the fitness center. Some of like about 15 hours a week myself, actually supervising the students that primarily are in Lifetime Fitness, but really any of the students that are in there as well. So, any other questions? Oh, another one?
Why did they make it so you couldn't work out anymore? You, like last year was like almost like if you was a student, you could work out now.
Well, you can. You still can do that.
I think she said you have to have like 1 to 4.
Yeah, there's some qualifying courses. One of those being Lifetime Fitness. Some of the others are personal strength and conditioning, strength and resistance training, or resistance training for women.
Any reason they changed it?
Well, because they started to open up more hours for people, just students to do that, they want to make sure that those students had, and they would get that from any of those qualifying courses, an understanding of how the fitness center actually operates, because fitness center's existence came about because it was used for Lifetime Fitness. And originally it was only used for Lifetime Fitness. And it's expanded dramatically since that. I don't know if anybody here remembers when the weight room was down at the bottom of the stairs, right down at the end of the hall here. Yeah, it's come a long ways since then. All that equipment is no longer here. We've replaced it with all new stuff, and so it has come a long ways. But the reason for that is to make sure that all students understand how that fitness center operates, and they kind of get that information from any of those qualifying courses. But any student who has taken any of those is over in the P office. You can sign up for that, and yeah, you can use it any of the times it's open. There are certain times it's not open for you because we have other courses that are in there, and it just gets to be too many people. So we limited some of the hours, but it's open an awful lot for just general users.
Are we allowed to use the treadmill?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Other question?
How much do the fitness center instructors make per hour?
You're stretching my... I think the average, I do know this, the average of all of them is about $18 an hour. There are some that are a little higher and some that are a little lower, depending on how many years they've been here and such. But the average is about 18, yeah.
How many differences are there when you're get your degree as an exercise physiologist or kinesiologist versus, a physical therapist, or how many differences are there, not just with courses, but, what you do?
What you do? Well, let's see. Physical therapists, from my experience with them, can be involved in a whole lot of different things. Obviously, they work in hospitals providing inpatient care and therapy, as well as outpatient therapy. Some physical therapists work in sports clinics, only working with athletes. Nursing homes, you have physical therapists working there. I mean, there's a lot of areas that physical therapists can work in. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe now if you want to become a physical therapist, you do have to get a master's degree. Or PhD, okay. I was wrong. Okay, you have to get the PhD in physical therapy, which is a change from last year. Changed just last year. So that is a dramatic change. But, even physical therapists, for that matter, there's a number of organizations that hire physical therapists to go abroad and be a physical therapist all over the world. You can get jobs anywhere, because then they're always clamoring for physical therapists, and they pay very, very well. Very, very well. Between an exercise physiologist, I have former college roommates from graduate school that work strictly in research. They don't teach any courses at all. They just do research 100% of the time. And that can be really good, but you have to always write grants, and hopefully you are awarded those grants, because that's your income, for that kind of thing. So that's another avenue you can go. Obviously, you can teach. You can work in the fitness field, health clubs of all different types, corporate wellness, corporate fitness, those kind of things. I think the other thing you mentioned was kinesiologist. There, I probably have a little less knowledge of some of the things they do, but they could be working in sports-related programs, obviously teaching as well, that type of thing. But I'm not really up on what kinesiologists, all the different areas that you could follow with that. So, another question?
What's the salary range for physical therapists?
Oh, it can vary a lot depending upon your situation you're in. I know some of the jobs abroad, because I have a couple friends that are physical therapists that actually worked abroad, and they're making over $100,000 a year. But it's usually like 1-year contracts that they have, and then they have the option of renewing. But again, it varies with where you go, and what the danger level is where you go, those types of things, because you might be going to some places, like you might be in the Middle East, whereas the chances are things are a little bit more dangerous there. So,
Any other questions for Doug?
any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now I have to go teach exercise phys too now, so we'll see you later.